Thank you so much, Parikshit. Thank AIOS and thank you for having me here. I'll share my screen. Yeah, can you see it?
Yes, we can, ma'am.
Okay. All right. It's a pleasure to talk about mucormycosis, which is new for us too. It has been overwhelming for us. Especially I've been in ocular microbiology for last 30 years or more. And I hadn't seen this kind of things earlier. So it was a very, very new experience. And we were quite happy to see something new, feeling very bad for the patients. Though we all know, and many people have talked before, that India is a huge red circle in the world compared to all other countries, and the cases are going up. Although we did have some cases in first wave, there's a nice publication from Chandigarh, PGI Chandigarh, comparing pre-COVID and the first wave. And now we are at the second wave, and India is topping the list. And this beautiful publication from IGO, I think all of us are floored by this particular publication, which gives the gold mine of information about this wave, and whole country is affected by this, as it shows. And there are some very puzzling questions, like why is Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal have less cases, whether they're being reported less, or we don't know the reason, though they had quite a good number of COVID-19 cases. Now, what are these fungi? They are everywhere present. Everyone said about that. And they are needed in the nature to decay materials and organic matter in the nature. They're also present in our gut and in the upper respiratory tracts as commensals. And they exist in a very simple way. They are either filamentous or they're yeast. And when they're yeast, we all know about candida, and filamentous are again septate or aseptate. This is important because mucor we are dealing with is aseptate. It is very, very characteristic feature of the mucorales. Now, here is a list of mucorales. They were actually earlier called as zygomycetes because they form a sexual sporulation, which is zygomycete, that's why they are called. And also they have asexual sporulation. And the one we are dealing with now, let's only stick to that, that is mucorales, have many, many genera. In this list, you have genera like mucor, rhizopus, rhizomucor, etc. So why is it called black fungus? Actually, the microbiologists and especially mycologists, they cringed at the word black fungus when it came, and we were all very puzzled that how come this word is becoming so famous when actually mucor is not a black fungus. It is a misnomer, and the name probably came and people started talking about black fungus because of the lesions which become black because of the blood extravasation, and there is oxidization of the iron there. And somehow this word black fungus, though a misnomer, became viral, and every print media and all sorts of media, it started coming. And then we were even more puzzled when green fungus, there is no word like green fungus or white fungus. We have proper names for the fungi. So anyway, the mucorales, when you look at them in the tissues or in the nasal samples of the patients, of the kind patients we are seeing now, they appear in chalcofluor white. You can see very broad. Compared to normal fungi, they are like aspergillus or fusarium. They are very broad. They have no septae, almost no septae, or they are called pauciseptate, and they look like ribbon-like. I use the word ribbon-like folds. When we use that word, we know that we are meaning the organisms belonging to mucorales. Whereas in potassium hydroxide, KOH method, which is more commonly used, you can see them as unstained, similarly, or septate filaments. What do we do? By now, we have in 1 month, beginning May 10th to June 16th, we have had in our laboratory 109 samples. And despite having the idea as well as telling the clinicians that nasal swabs are not very good samples for yielding or showing the fungus, still I think that is the easiest to take, and that's why we have had more samples which were nasal, and we had other kinds of samples here. Now, what we advise is nasal swab, of course, you use a swab, but tissue when you take, you can directly put it on. This is a blood agar, chocolate agar, and a sabrod dextrose agar and potato dextrose agar. And in case you want to send for PCR in a sterile tube without any fluid, don't use any fluid because there can be contamination. So for the transport of the sample, if you can inoculate on culture media, it's fine. And if you cannot, then you should at least just put it in a sterile bottle without any fluid and send it to the laboratory. Only when you want to do histopathology, you need to put it in formalin. If you're putting in formalin, microbiology cannot be done because the organism has to remain viable. And these methods I already talked about, KOH mount, calcofluid. Gram stain we don't recommend because you can see the filaments are not seen very clearly and they collapse and not a very good stain. So we recommend the earlier two. And here is how the in culture, the fungus, it looks actually white. Initially, it is white and cottony. You can see the whole bottle is full. And very slowly, it turns gray or black in color because it produces spores. And these spores are brown or black, and that is not formed in vivo. In the tissues, there is no sporulation like this. These are all in vitro sporulations, and based on the zygospores and based on the rhizoids here, you can see root-like structures, columella, we decide which kind of a species it is. Here is a black fungi. Real black fungi are called Demathiaceous fungi. They have spores which are black, they have colonies which are black, and they have genus like Carvularia, Alternaria, Bipolaris, and they are not associated with mucormycosis. And here is a case where with this proptosis, actually the patient came without any vision, no PL, and the exenteration was done. And this area around the optic nerve is what was sent to us. And you can see the filaments in GMS stain, calcofluor white, and also the around the vessel there is infiltration. These are the black ones, are fungal filaments, and in pars also you can say perineural infiltration. But here is a case which we were very surprised. The surgeon called and said there is an abscess, lid abscess, and there is no other sign. But in the MRI, there was a place where it was seen touching the bones and maybe bony invasion. And then she sent a large amount of pus in a syringe. And I made several smears because she said, please look for mucorale. And here is one short fragment, which is broad aseptate. Then I gave that sample to the pathologist because I was not convinced to see such a short fragment. And then when she looked very carefully, made a cell block, and then we could see the similar mucor-like fungus in the histopathology sections also. There was no growth in culture. So the only proof we had was these histopathology and microbiology pictures. In colony, when the organism grows, it forms cotton. I already showed you in PDA and SDA. Here is a cotton seen very beautifully on blood agar. And in the SDA bottle, it just fills up. And we have many other points in that by which we identify. These are different sporangiophores, sporangium, and different parts. And these are the zygospores. And here are the number of species that you can see. What about antibiotic susceptibility? All these group of organisms are usually susceptible to amphotericin B, posaconazole, and isavuconazole. And itraconazole is also mentioned, but clinical efficacy has not been shown. What we do in the laboratory is a microbroth dilution method. So you take different concentrations of the antibiotic and inoculate the organism, and then see up to which dilution there is growth. And the first dilution which shows that there is no growth, that is the visible growth, is MIC. And if you subculture and you find that there is no growth at a slightly higher concentration, and that is called minimum fungicidal concentration. So this is how we determine that. Also, molecular methods I must tell you about, which are being used not only for identification of the fungus, but also for the clinical samples in our LV Prasad Eye Institute Bhubaneswar. We are developing that. And this is about sequencing. I will not go into detail, but this is the PCR which has been developed. Fungus and the mucorales, there is a clear difference in the size of the amplicon that forms, yeah, 250 or 259 or 340. So this is something we have just sent it for publication, and the study is ongoing. I'll skip these risk factor because many people already talked about this in detail earlier. So they are not really relevant now. Now, I have to say is, what do we do? Fungus we cannot get rid of in our country, but the hospital infection control surveillance in the ICUs and hospital areas are very, very important. Patient at home also, there need to be a control of the environment, and there is no other way we can control this. Of course, the risk factors of diabetes, steroids, etc., have to be taken care of. I find